We're joined on the phone by Gabriel Kumi. He's the Vice President of the LPG Marketers Association. Gabriel, good morning to you.
Good morning, Puja.
Thanks for your time. Now, I mean, look, the indication is that there is a movement from gas to charcoal. You sell it. You sell gas. Is it true?
Let me first comment on the media for the documentary put out yesterday. It was a wonderful piece of work, and we highly compliment it. The question you asked is obviously true. I mean, we don't need any expert to tell us this. It's very, very true that consumption of LPG is declining in Ghana. We hit our peak in terms of consumption in 2021. And since then, but between 2021 and 2022, consumption declined by 12%. It picked up a little bit in 2022, in 2023, but we could not go back to the 2021 levels. The figures we are picking from consumption of this year, is nothing good to write about. So consistently, we are seeing the fact that consumption of LPG is not doing too well. At least we are not able to catch up with the 2021 consumption levels that we had.
So you are noticing the trend. But what can be done to stop it?
Kojo, we are very clear in our minds that 99% of the reason why consumption of LPG is not picking up in Ghana is because the price of the product has gotten to a height that the ordinary Ghanaian is no longer able to afford. We started consumption of LPG with La Côte d'Ivoire. La Côte d'Ivoire is now doing twice as we are doing. We are doing an average of about 350,000 metric tons a year. La Côte d'Ivoire is currently doing about 700,000 metric tons a year. And it's because they have consistently taken measures to ensure that the price of LPG is relatively very low. Indeed, as we speak now, La Côte d'Ivoire is really subsidizing the LPG to the tune of between 20-25%. But we are doing the direct opposite. We have put taxes on the product, and that has really contributed a lot to the escalating prices that we are seeing on the market today. Indeed, I was interviewed about 3 months ago, and at that interview, I indicated that the price of LPG, the pump price of LPG, is 15.5 Ghana cedis. Kojo, I can report to you today as we speak that the price of LPG has hit 18 cedis per kilo. That breaks down to about 260 Ghana cedis for the ordinary 14.5 kg that we normally use at home. So we live in a country when the ordinary Ghanaian take-home pay is about 1,800, 1,200, 1,500 Ghana cedis. And you are asking somebody who take home 1,000 Ghana cedis a month to use about 25% of that income to purchase just LPG. We think that is too unbearable for Ghanaians. And if we don't take very concrete measures to ensure that the price of LPG comes down, the target that we have set for ourselves is going to be very, very, very highly impossible to achieve.
Wow. Right. Okay. So, what would your recommendations be at this point? I mean, who is best placed to resolve this matter, and what would your recommendations be to them to ensure that your product becomes more affordable and widely used?
Like your intro, there are certain factors that we can't control. The international price of the product cannot be controlled locally. Two things that we can control are the depreciation of our cities. That's number one. And the most important factor that we can control is government taxes, levies, and margin that we can keep on the product. We have been very consistent and persistent since 2018 when we saw that price of product was pushing up. We at that time called on government to consider removing all taxes from LPG. If you can't even subsidize like the La Cote d'Ivoire and other countries are doing, at least take off the taxes and the margins and the levies from the product so that consumers can buy the product at cost. Because if in Chile they say if we can't subsidize it like the other countries are doing, let's at least take the taxes from it so that at least we can make the product much more affordable. Of course, we are not saying as soon as we take the taxes and levies from the LPG, all Ghanaians are going to use the product. But the LPG is highly price sensitive. Any single petrol that you add to the price of the product goes a long way to affect its consumption negatively. So now we are having about 18-20% taxes and levies and margins on the product. If we can begin by taking that out, that will in itself go a long way to immediately increase consumption of the product. But unfortunately, we have been saying this for the past 6 years. Nothing is being done. The regulator keeps telling us they have made presentations to the ministry and to cabinet to consider removing these taxes. But we've been saying this, and MPA has also been saying this for the past 6 years. When the target to increase consumption from 25% penetration level to 50% by the year 2030 was set. And they themselves admit that the reason why we are not going to meet this target is the fact that the price of the product is too high. LPG is not a luxury product. It's a mass product. It's a mass product for every Ghanaian to use. So once you keep filing taxes and margins and levies on it, you are only pushing up the ordinary Ghanaian from consuming the product. And your documentary clearly shows that. Now LPG is bought in tons. 5 cities, 10 cities, 20 cities. So I think our recommendation will be for government to take off all taxes from LPG. Then we can begin to look at the next step.
Right. So have you engaged government on this, and what are they saying?
Like I did indicate earlier, because we have engaged a lot. We have written a lot of papers even to as far as to the Ministry of Finance. But we have realized that it only ends at the engagement stage. You write letters and it's not even responded to. Like I did indicate, MPA has indicated from your own documentary, I think you interviewed my little brother Obed, and he indicated that yes, indeed they have made presentations to cabinet through the Ministry of Energy. This in itself is an admission that the taxes on LPG should not be there. If a whole regulator can make a presentation to cabinet and to the ministry that take off these taxes from the product, then what else do we need to say? They themselves admit that the taxes on the product is making the product much more expensive and is pushing consumers from consuming the product. So we don't know what to do. That there's nothing to be done than to keep reminding them, to keep putting up some pressure, and to also invite people like your media houses and other media houses to join all of us to appeal to government that if it really, really, really wants to achieve its target, its own target, this is not a target set by the LPG marketing companies. It's a target set by cabinet. His Excellency, the President, and his cabinet set the target. But you can't eat your cake and have it. You can't set such a laudable objective, a laudable target, and you go the other way to rather do things which will affect your own target. I mean, recently, a margin of about 1 cedi 20 pesos was introduced on LPG called the cylinder investment and whatever margin. It added about 1 cedi 20 pesos to the every kilo of LPG. We feel that margin is so unnecessary because that was supposed to be given to bottling plants to be able to procure cylinders. The bottling plants are big guys. If they are not ready to fund their own activities, why should the taxpayer pay for a private man to buy cylinders for a private man to use these cylinders, engage in commercial activities, earn profit, and put that profit in his pocket? Does this make sense to anybody? Those guys should be able to put their margins on the LPG, and then sell the LPG like any other commercial business does. You recoup their investment through the margins they put, their own margins that they put on the product. But you don't set up a completely different margin and collect money from taxpayers only for that to be used to procure cylinders for private businesses. What happens to the private profit which is going to be earned by these private businesses? Now, is it going to go into the consolidated fund so that you and I can benefit from it? No. It's going into the top pocket of that private person. Why should Kojo Jansen be the one to pay for the investment of a private entity?
Right. So, I mean, what's the strategy for your organization, LPG Marketers Award? What's the next move? If government is not listening, what now?
Kojo, it's a very difficult situation we find ourselves in. Like I said, even by the by the 1st of November, we expect price of LPG to go up by some 3%. So that will shoot up the pump price further to about 18 cedis 50 pesos. And if we are not careful and the city continues to perform the way it's been performing the last few weeks and months, by end of the year we expect to be selling the LPG, a kilo of LPG at about 20 cedis per kilo. So we expect every Ghanaian to join us in this fight and appeal to government to do the needful if we really believe in the target it has set for the LPG sector. Otherwise, why set the target? We have been doing the little that we can. We will continue to do what we can and take other measures to ensure that the price of LPG, we appeal to government to ensure that the price of LPG comes down.
Mr. Kumi, there is a question about you as an industry. Of course, for most people, you already have employees who are dependent on the sales and the things that you do. Is your industry and the people who are marketing this product equally threatened? Are you likely to lose employees? People don't consume the product. That's what happened to other businesses if nobody's buying their product.
Raymond, that is obvious, isn't it? I mean, when your consumption keeps declining, you expect that your business is also going down. So that is what is happening. The LPG marketing companies are really, really struggling to survive these days. And if it continues, the price continues to move up as it's doing now, we are afraid very soon we'll have to start laying off workers because we are not making the volumes to sustain that level of employment. So that is quite clear. If things don't improve, if measures are not taken to really bring the price of LPG down so that we can at least sustain some level of consumption, it's likely that going forward we are going to lay off a lot of workers. Secondly, the plants, the LPG refilling plants in the rural areas are collapsing because they are not being patronized. If you go to a place like Uba, we used to have about 7 or 8 LPG stations in Uba. Now, when you go, 2 of them have closed down. When we go to Boga, we used to have an equal number. About 2 of them has closed down. When we really travel in the hinterland, you will see that most of the LPG plants that we were once upon a time very vibrant and they were doing serious business are now folding up because they are not able to make the volumes to sustain the business. Even the plants in these rural areas where anybody could go there and buy the product in tot, are now folding up. So that brings to question the viability of our cylinder recirculation model that we think is the best way to go. Because if the plant where you can walk and buy tot is folding up, then what is the guarantee that when you fill cylinders and send to these rural areas, these cylinders are going to be bought? Because those they can't even buy the one that they are able to buy in tots. They can't buy the tots. How can they buy the full? So it's a whole. It's not an issue of let's introduce. In any case, the cylinder recirculation we even introduce. If we really strongly believe that it is because of availability of the product, that is why we are not able to get sales in the rural areas. Why is cylinder recirculation still being concentrated in Accra? I don't think there's anybody in Accra that cannot find LPG to buy if he wants one. It's available readily in Accra. So one would have expected that if we believe that availability is the issue, we will send these cylinder recirculation bottles to the rural areas where we think the plants are not there, so that we can make the product more available to the rural areas instead of concentrating and competing in Accra where we have abundance of supply of the product. So the industry is really choked now. We are operating on a very thin line. And if things continue this way, if we don't come up with measures to bring the price of LPG down, to increase consumption of the product, to sustain the industry, we are moving to a very serious situation.
Right. Gabriel Kumi, thank you for speaking to us.
Thank you.
Yeah, Gabriel is the Vice President of the LPG Marketers Association. All right, now let's talk a bit about this. Winston has joined us, by the way. He's off engaged in other things, but we've brought him back just for this all-important conversation. He, of course, is the producer of the Gas to Charcoal documentary. Winston, good morning.
Good morning, Kojo. And good morning, Raymond.
Yeah, so I mean, you've heard all the reactions to the work you've done. You've heard the side of the producers, the distributors of the product. What are your thoughts?
Well, Kojo, one of the reasons we decided to do this was as a result of the declining consumption rate of LPG. Now, I was surprised when I went to some of the areas, particularly in the markets, where the market women talked about how the price, for instance, when there was an increase in LPG, there was a reduction in charcoal or in the purchasing of charcoal. Since 1990, we have implemented lots of programs aimed at increasing the consumption of LPG. So when we started in 1990, we're actually subsidizing. We're giving out cylinders, we're giving out stoves. As late as 2013, we're still doing that. But for me, the surprising thing is that today, the commodity which started being subsidized now has a lot of taxes on it. And as a result, people are resorting to the usage of charcoal. Look, I went around, the Bono areas, Bono East areas, and you will be surprised. While I was heading to Edra, along that stretch, I saw the heaps of charcoal along the road. Many of these bags were actually being transported to Accra. So the thing is this: we may think that this is a problem of the rural areas. Unfortunately, go to Achimota market and you find people buying charcoal. Go to a lot of the choppers and you would find people using charcoal and not using cars. So this is it. We can pretend all we want, but the reality is that if we do not do anything about this, and when I say we do not do anything about this, you've heard Gabby talk about the fact that the only thing we can do now is to remove the levies, the taxes on LPG. If you don't want to subsidize, at least remove the taxes so that people can buy it. If we don't do that, I'm sorry, but we will come back and start another program. In 2021, we talked about the LPG for development, where we said by 2030 we expected to have a 50% market penetration. And currently we're hoping around less than 30%. That's not what you want as a country.
Yeah, well, that's a lot to think about. Thanks for the intervention, Winston. That, of course, is our very own Winston Amwa, producer of the Gas to Charcoal